So here's the main reason why I actually talk about the politics of research life and PhD life. The reason is that we all like gossip, right? And we often have these sort of moments. And gossip is a really interesting thing because on the face of it, we know it's like, man, I don't know if we should talk about it. It's kind of awkward, but there's a use for gossip that I think is actually quite profound. And the use for gossip is that it helps us deal with ambiguous situations that people often don't like to talk about publicly. So it's one of these moments where you don't know what the right thing is to do, and you want to hear a voice of somebody to secretly say, hey, this is all you have to do. And my message is almost always the same with everything that I say on this channel. And that is just get back up and do it again. You're going to lose faith. You're going to think that there is some magic bullet and all that kind of stuff that everybody tries to tell you about. And, maybe there is the truth of it. Maybe there actually is a magic bullet, but I'm never aware of that magic bullet. I look around and I think the same thing. I think that many people are much more further along than I am, and that there must be a magic bullet out there. But I've been in this profession doing research for so long that I realized that this magic bullet, for me, right? And I'm not saying for other people, I guarantee that there is a magic bullet for them, right? Like, and I'm almost confident to say that. But for me, in terms of who I am and what I do and what I represent, it the magic bullet doesn't exist, right? It's not my style. It's not who I am. And I think, that there is this huge group of people that are out there that are in the same boat that I am, right? Like you, you, you sort of follow all of the tips and tricks that everybody says, and you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't work for me. I'm not a networker kind of person, or, I can't sort of quickly write things up and do all this sort of BS that everybody says. I can only just do my work. And whatever that is, that's good enough for me. And I'm just going to continue on doing that thing every single day. Right. And that's my message. And I stumbled into this understanding that people really loved gossip. And I stumbled into it because, you know, I am actually trying to build the reciprocity platform, which is a platform to create non-rejectable research papers and grants, and along the way make it really fun, right? But what I discovered when I was building this, if I'm really direct and I just tell you what the information actually is, and I try to present things in a very straightforward way, you don't care, right? The audience does not care. And it's kind of boring. But if I talk about politics and I talk about the sort of the ambiguities, the struggles that we go through, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is a little bit more interesting because, first of all, there's always a little bit of intrigue with politics. There's always something that's going on that you're like, yeah, you know what? Like, there must be some sort of secret thing, right? So first of all, I sort of vowed that I've, I'm going to be as real as I possibly can, but I'm also not going to out anybody on this channel. I'm not going to be one of those people that are, a gotcha kind of thing. But what I'm going to do is be real with my own experiences and tell you that, this sort of dark moments, that's a huge chunk of what we have to do in research and in innovation, and the lack of support, and you feeling that you got to get up and do this. That is the journey, right? Like, I'm going to repeat that. That's a constant message. And the journey, the messaging that is sold to us is just patently wrong, right? It's just patently wrong. And the messaging, in my experience, and I'm just one person, that I think is actually resonating with a lot more people, is that is not the truth at all, right? The truth is that it is difficult. And there's often people that sort of defend it. There's all sort of political plays and all that kind of stuff because their career depends on it. And you try to sort of change that. It's not going to work out. Like, anybody that's ever done this, just talk to people, you'll realize like, oh yeah, you know what, he's right. And there's often, despite the fact that some of us get good salaries, other people don't, right? And often that there's very little resources to go around after those salaries are divvied up. So people, they don't know how to deal with it. And so there's that few amount of resources that we all just kind of scramble for. There's a great theory that looks into this. It's called institutional theory. And it's just really looking or resource dependence theory, and it's really just thinking about just we grapple over the limited amount of resources, and we try to sort of latch onto it. That is, and it's not like resources in general, it's free, like the stuff that kind of is ambiguous. So my point is that I can't tell you directly what these answers actually are because you're not going to listen, right? And if you're not going to listen, the message is not going to get out there. But if I tell you politics, right, and I say that, that there are political places, and we all know they exist, right? That there is a lot of people out there that are very politically so let me take that back. If you're politically astute, people don't feel like they're being used, right? Like that is a somewhat of a characteristic. But often people think that they are politically astute, but they often use people and they make them feel really terrible, right? And that's just what happens in many organizations. And just the academic organization is a little more weirder for everybody else because there's so much ambiguity, and you just have to deal with it every day, and trying to figure out how to navigate it. Right. And that's where I'm going to tell you, disregard all of that stuff. Right. That's my trick. That's my magical trick. Disregard all of that stuff and just keep taking steps forward and trying to work on yourself in terms of making sure that you're happy and healthy. I just try to ignore all of the other stuff because it matters. I completely understand that. But it's also irrelevant to you unless you're astute enough to do it in a very cunning way, right? So for most of us, we're not, at least for me, right? I can only speak for me. I'm not that cunning enough to, manipulate things and do that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to do my thing and try to be kind and generous and just be a decent human being, and just, if it means it's going to cost my career, um, oh well, right? Like that's my goal, is to be a decent human being. I don't want to rely on 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 my work efforts forever, right? That's why I constantly tell you to invest 10 to 15%. Hopefully it's 15% of everything that you ever make in index funds and mutual funds, because I don't want to be doing this forever, and neither do you. Right. And you should set yourself up so you could just walk away. And at any moment, you just say, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter. Right. If you get fired, it doesn't matter. And that's the goal with all of this. With office, with dealing with the gossip that I talk about and the problems that we all face, you want to be able to have power, walk away, bargaining power to walk away. And the only way that you have that is if you have resources where you're independent and you worked on yourself so that you feel that you can walk away at any given time. It's kind of a catch-22. If you feel that you can walk away at any time and you actually have the resources to do that, you're actually probably going to be a better employee for anybody that you're actually working for. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.